long-term marriage to the narcissist. Now, as those of you who have heard me speak those words may well be saying, hell no, or been there and got the t-shirt. Repeatedly I am asked, however, how is it that there can be a long-term marriage which involves a narcissist? Why does it work? Why does it last as long as it has done so? Why doesn't it crash and erupt into flames? Why has it endured? To answer that question, you need to understand what it is that would cause the potential demise of the relationship. Where marriage occurs between the victim and the narcissist, the classification of that is the narcissist, relevant school, and the victim is the intimate partner primary source. This is the person that is deemed by the narcissism to be the best person to control, the best person to provide fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. Most of you listening when you do your shopping will go to a supermarket or some kind of hypermarket or megastore to purchase most of your food needs in one place, and indeed many of these places have expanded into other goods as well, so that you can pick up a cushion or a candlestick or some body lotion or whatever whilst you're there. For reasons of convenience, you pick up the majority of your shopping from one place. Yes, you may go to specialist shops for special occasions, such as something for a birthday present, or if it's a particular item that is unusual and a one-off purchase, something, for instance, to do with DIY or hardware. But the majority of your shopping, you will do so from one particular store, supplemented by smaller purchases from different stores. The narcissist operates in the same way. We require the prime aims: fuel, control, character traits, and residual benefits, and therefore it's far easier to get all of those things from one person, because then there is only one person who has to be controlled to a greater extent. Of course, we have to assert control over everybody that we interact with, but the prime source is the individual, or rather the primary source is the individual that we will interact with the most, and therefore that is the individual that has to be the easiest to control and keep controlled. And in the circumstances, the primary source is placed in that position because they are the prime provider of the prime aims. Of course, we have secondary and tertiary sources. We will control all of those individuals. We will likely receive fuel from them also. We occasionally obtain character traits and residual benefits from those people as well. But the bulk of the prime aims comes from the primary source, and the reliance upon the primary source varies dependent upon the school and sub-school of narcissist. If you want to understand more about this, I'd recommend that you go to the Knowledge Vault and obtain Pipelines and Understanding Changes to the Narcissist Fuel Matrix. That will help you understand more about the level of reliance that different sub-schools of narcissist have upon the primary source. Some require the primary source for 90 to 95% of the prime aims, others only 50%, and variances in between. The dynamic that occurs between the narcissist and this victim, who is the IPPS, follows one route with potentially three outcomes. First of all, you're seduced, and you will have been seduced from a position of either a tertiary or secondary source, dependent upon how we knew you. You might have been a stranger in a bar, so you're a tertiary source, or we knew you through work, you're a secondary source. You become intimate, we start dating, we draw you in, and you're enjoying the golden period. We then embed you as the intimate partner primary source, become the boyfriend or the girlfriend, the cohab, and then marriage ensues. And during this embedded period, you are still in the golden period. So the initial seduction and the embedding fall within the golden period. All is rosy in the garden. No problems so far. You will then as intimate partner primary source eventually be devalued, in the way that the sun always rises in the east, the fact that we're all going to die. The intimate partner primary source is always devalued. There are different forms by which the devaluation may occur. It could be a Stepford devaluation, for instance. See the video of the same name. It could be horrendous physical violence. It might be lots of silent treatments, being demeaned and belittled, not offered any help. It might be triangulated with other people, with your children. There's lots of different ways that the devaluation can occur, and I've described them in a variety of different videos, explaining the various manipulations that are used. But the sustained devaluation will occur. This sustained devaluation is punctuated by respite periods, which is basically a shortened version of the golden period. From this point, you've had seduction, golden period, embedding, golden period, sustained devaluation, which may include the stranger zone at the beginning, punctuated by respite periods. At this juncture, there are three outcomes. The first, and the rarest outcome, is you escape. You realise something is badly wrong. You might happen upon it being narcissism, but you escape. And you bring the formal relationship to a conclusion by leaving the narcissist, separating, instituting divorce proceedings. That is, however, the rarest outcome. The more common one is that you are disengaged from. And as I've explained in 5 reasons why the narcissist leaves you, there are 5 disengagement triggers. And the most common of those triggers is the fact that we find somebody else. During your sustained devaluation, we have been cheating on you, and we ascertain, either unconsciously we're an unaware narcissist or consciously we're an aware narcissist, that this person is going to fulfill the prime aims better than you, and therefore they're in and you're out. And there's a more or less seamless switch. And that's why often you find when you have been dumped by the narcissist immediately appears with somebody new on their arm, and you wonder, how on earth did they get that person so quick? Answer, they were seeing you behind your back. The most common reason for disengagement is that we have somebody ready to replace you, and at the appropriate moment we do so, you're disengaged from, they are then installed as the new intimate partner primary source. And therefore the outcome for you is disengagement, and the relationship, in terms of the formal relationship, is over. We separate from you, we instigate divorce proceedings, and we are away with the new person. Of course, when it comes to escape or disengagement, that doesn't mean the narcissistic relationship is over. You can be hoovered. It might be that the formal relationship is resurrected years down the line as reconciliation occurs. But first outcome, escape. Second, disengagement, for a variety of different reasons, the most common of which being we replace you with somebody new. And then there is the third outcome. No escape, no disengagement, and the relationship rumbles on. Basically, it is the roller coaster of sustained devaluation and respite period. Sustained devaluation, respite period. Days where everything's okay, days where it's horrible, weeks where everything's okay, weeks where it's difficult. The time periods will vary dependent upon what you're doing and other actions within the fuel matrix. I hear you ask, well, why does that happen then? Why does it rumble on? Well, first of all, obviously, you've not escaped. So that means the relationship continues. The victim, for whatever reason, stays within the relationship and doesn't bring it to an end. Furthermore, naturally, there's no disengagement. Why hasn't the narcissist ended it? Quite simply, because those 5 disengagement triggers have not occurred. You haven't broken down, you haven't caused massive wounding, you haven't caused massive exposure. The narcissist hasn't sensed that somehow you have become clued on to what they're up to, and therefore you become too difficult to control, and the narcissist hasn't got a replacement. Now, the narcissist may well be cheating with somebody in the background, but never moves them to the position of intimate partner primary source. This might be because that individual, whilst important with regard to fuel, character traits and residual benefits, still doesn't provide them at the level that you do or as is needed, and therefore they don't be promoted. More often, that individual is perhaps more difficult to control, and whilst they serve a purpose being put on and taken off the shelf, the narcissism recognises that to promote them to a full-time position, so to speak, would be too difficult, too arduous, too draining of the narcissist's resources, and therefore they are just kept as the secondary source, and you remain as the intimate partner primary source. There is no disengagement trigger. So just because that relationship is enduring doesn't mean that the narcissist is keeping it in his pants or that she is not tomming around. The fact is that a narcissist can still cheat and stay with that intimate partner primary source for years, if not decades. The fact remains that relationship endures because there is no escape and there's no disengagement trigger. You don't get away from the narcissist, and the narcissist doesn't feel the need to get rid of you. Of course, it is not a happy union. The victim is abused. The narcissist extracts what they require, devalues the long-suffering intimate partner primary source. Of course, as time goes on, some of the narcissist's behaviours may become lessened as a consequence of an adjustment by the narcissism to cater for the ageing process, as I have explained in other videos. And in other instances, the victim becomes less sensitive to the manipulations and just thinks he's in one of his moods and goes off and does something else, and doesn't get as worked up by the silent treatment as they did in the early days of the marriage. The fact remains that when it comes to long-term marriage to the narcissist, it is not the case that the victim has somehow cracked the code and understands how to deal with the narcissist. Not at all. They will be repeatedly devalued. They will still be treated badly. But the extent of the bad behaviour may be slightly reduced for ageing reasons, but again, not always, and or the victim has become a little desensitized to the devaluing behaviour and doesn't react how they once did and doesn't find it as bad. But understand, it's not rainbows, it's not bed of roses, it is the up and down. Periods where things are calm, periods where it might be viewed as being enjoyable again, and then the dark periods of the sustained devaluation occur once more. The victim hasn't worked out a way to tread through the minefield that is the narcissist successfully without setting off mines. They will still do so. They haven't got the magic potion to suddenly bring the narcissist to heel. That doesn't happen. It's impossible. All that it is that the narcissist doesn't disengage from you. You haven't escaped the narcissist. And so where there is a long-term marriage between narcissist and non-narcissist, namely empathic victim, it trundles along because either of those two events have not occurred, but it is not a happy, content, nurturing, emotionally empathy-filled relationship at all. It remains difficult, fractious, devaluing, cruel, unpleasant, all of the adjectives that you could find to describe devaluing behaviour. It may be tempestuous, fiery, heated fury being demonstrated by the narcissist, or periods of glacial iciness as cold fury comes to the fore. Either way, where there is a long-term marriage between an empathic victim and the narcissist, the only reason that it endures is because the victim has not escaped, the narcissist is not disengaged, and it is not a happy union. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.